I've been watching dear old Father John. Have you seen Father John? Well worth a watch, actually. He's a very nice chap. He's off-grid, well, pretty much off-grid, living in a caravan whilst he does up a little house somewhere in Shropshire. Absolutely fantastic chap. He's a padre, so he does a little bit of spiritual stuff at the same time as, well, actually puffing his pipe, a bit rather like me, which is rather fun. And I enjoy watching him. He does a sort of daily little channel and gives words of wisdom, really. And I find it really refreshing. Anyway, I was watching him yesterday and he just so happened to be talking about receiving a letter, a handwritten letter. And I thought, oh, that's absolutely charming. But the thing about it was, and the reason it stayed in my memory, is because I had written, by coincidence, a handwritten letter to my son Stanley, my eldest son. Delightful chap, down in whatever part of the country he is down in. And you see, I've been trying to contact him on the phone on one of these messaging services, and he's very much in that sort of sphere. You know, he does all those sort of things on phones and mobile phones and communication and all that kind of stuff. And I've been trying to get hold of him, and a few weeks went past, and I thought, dash it all, do you know what? I am going to write him a letter, a handwritten letter. And I wrote him this letter, and it arrived yesterday. So actually, it was a pretty good service from the ye olde post office. Presumably, they got one of their messengers, you know, and rode across country, or perhaps on one of those old coaching trips with the horses, you know, and the carts. The rail on the mail road, on the King's Road, to get this message right the way through. Anyway, the point was, it arrived, and all of a sudden, I've got this message back from him. And it didn't get a letter back from him, but I got a message. You know, it's a recorded message. Hello, Dad. Lovely to hear from you. I got your letter. I got your letter. I recognised your handwriting at once. And he said, it was so nice to receive a handwritten letter. And I thought to myself, well, of course it is. Of course it's nice. And from your father. And I said to him, I said, well, it's a letter, of course, which I was informing him what I was up to and asking him some questions, which he did answer in his message back to me. And I said, it's a message. He said, it's a letter you can treasure. You see, there's something nice, isn't there? I don't know whether you've done this, whether you've gone back through old letters and picked them up and gone, good God, I wonder whatever happened to so-and-so. They had all these ideas and these plans and various things, and you do wonder what happened to them. Perhaps old love letters, you know, and you've written your letters yourself and you've received letters back. That's always very nice, isn't it? And you can sort of select the paper, select the pen. What pen shall I write in a fountain pen? Shall I just use a bit of a miserable old A4 printer paper, which is probably all I've got, and that's what I wrote to my son on, sadly. But it would be nice to go and, you know, collect some proper, you know, do you remember Basildon Bond and things like that? And you would write a little letter, a little missive to somebody. Dear, hello, it's nice to see you. How are you? Any chance you want? I'm coming down to the estate next Wednesday. I do hope you'll be able to put me up. All that sort of thing. Dear Carruthers, I was only thinking the other day, wouldn't it be lovely to have another game of croquet? That, you know, all those sort of things used to go on. But it was lovely going back, and I've got some old letters that I cherish, really, and every now and again you pick them up. And there's something about being handwritten. You have a, you know, they've breathed on the paper, their pen and their personality has encrypted those words, those letters in their handwriting onto it. Rather than just a typed letter. I mean, we all get letters, don't we? I mean, I had a letter the other day, had big block black lettering on it and a demand for some money. Those aren't the letters I'm talking about. And many of those letters, they seem to come in these window envelopes, which is a bit odd, isn't it? Because from what I understand, the window envelopes are internal mail for those employees of the UK jurisdiction. I try to stay out of the UK jurisdiction because the UK, as everybody goes, oh yes, I live in the UK. And you go, but you do know that UK is just a concept. It's not a real place. It's not an actual physical place on this this land mass that we call Britain on the earth. You do know that, don't you? But everyone's very keen to be part of the UK, this kind of concept, a bit like corporations. You know, they work for corporations, and you think to yourself, you do know you're just working for a concept. It isn't actually a real. That's why I go on about family-run businesses with real men and women who actually work together. And I think that's the same with bits of paper with words on it. You know, they're genuine, real words. I had one the other day, a windowed envelope, and it was quite comical. Because I'd been dealing with the water company for a bit, and now I got this one just said, to the occupier. I thought, well, and it said also on the envelope, it said to be opened by the addressee only. And I thought, well, okay, well, who's called the occupier? As far as I understood, armies occupy, don't they? So I don't know who that is. So I've got this letter, and I suppose I'll just have to send it back and say, I'm not quite sure who you're talking to. If you're talking to me, you know, address it to me. They probably don't know who I am anymore. Anyway, so back to letters, back to handwriting letters. There's something visceral about a letter, isn't it? There's something honourable, there's something noble about putting pen to paper and writing to each other. We've all become very hasty in this world, and we just send our messages very swiftly on these instant services because life is so damn hasty. And that sense of time and place. The thing about a letter is you can spend time constructing it. You can think about it. What do you want to say? What are you asking exactly? You're practicing your mind and hand response rather than just, you know, these natural that you see with people. I was reading with the lovely Julia, my wonderful partner, a book called Georgiana, and it was set in well, sort of the late, I suppose, when would it be, the 19th century. And they were writing to one another all the time. And the author had managed to find all these letters and was able to trace all these letters of this woman who was associated in the high life. She was the Duchess of Devonshire back in the day. So she was like consorting with all the sort of noble people at the time. And she was writing to her mother very frequently and to her sisters and other people. And so, therefore, this book was able to be put together by all that information from scraps of bits of paper that joined together. Who now, these days, you know, would be able to get a private collection of somebody's emails or WhatsApp messages or Telegram messages? My worry with all this digital stuff, and you would have heard me talk about this many, many times, and I'm a bit like the BBC, full of repeats, is that, quite honestly, this digital realm that we're all so eager to be part of obliterates history, does it? Hello? Anybody there? It obliterates history because once everything's all digital, I mean, just take that. Those wonderful old notes and letters and things like that. Who gets access to that? When somebody snuffs it, does the account just disappear? Does the cloud just go, sorry, mate, that's it, gone, locked out, nobody gets it? Who keeps their emails? I mean, when your email inbox is full, and to be honest with you, nobody would want my email inbox. It's just full of all sorts of nonsense. Lots of people saying, can I come on the show? Lots of people saying, I've got my children being taken away from me. Is there, what can you do? All this sort of agony aunt stuff. But I'm not an agony aunt. You know, I have people on the show who are the specialists. I'm not the specialist. I'm just nobody, really. But we have such myriad amount, and imagine wading through it. It's like when the police come in and they suspect you of something and they snatch all your digital information. No wonder it takes forever for them to go through everything, because there's just so much clutter, so much rubbish. Far easier just to be able to sort of have a look at your letters and go, this is a letter from Rupert, this is a letter from Cyril, and this is a letter from Lady Daphne Hathaway, whoever she is. It's so much easier to look at bits of paper. And And that's history. You know, those bits of paper have been around in the case of Georgiana and all of that for a couple of 100 years. And somebody actually wrote on it. You know, you could smell the perfume probably still after all this time. An email is very dead, isn't it? It's a very dead sort of thing. So is a WhatsApp message. It's just text. It's digital. It's kind of lifeless and has no merit to it. And I'm very much in that sort of, I want to be still on the earth, grasped in real things, in the analogue world, rather than stuck in this or drifting into this digital world, which is why I find the whole concept of the digital IDs, identification digitally, absolutely repellent. And I've mentioned this before, that actually, as far as I'm concerned, to prove who I am, it's me, the flesh and blood, what would you call it, a version of my soul. Because the thing that I am, this vague consciousness that peers out at this strange world is the me, and then there's this kind of encapsulated flesh and blood thing that I'm trapped in for the moment, although you can spiritually escape it if you spend time meditating and things, or even contemplating, or losing yourself in your dreams or in your thoughts. You sort of disappear from your body for a bit, don't you? Which just goes to prove your body isn't actually you. But however, that is the thing, and a digital something, and it says, oh, that proves that I am who I... Well, it doesn't prove anything, does it? This is such a fake world that we're heading towards. And that's why it's so important to write letters to one another, I think. Although, you will need a mortgage to buy a stamp these days. Have you seen the price? Have you seen the price of stamps? A book of stamps will set you back a hell of a lot. But I suppose in another way, the good thing about that is it makes you selective. Who sends Christmas cards these days? We've been encouraged to send e-cards. And then what? How do you put an e-card on your shelf? And sometimes those Christmas cards that people send, you know, you barely put I've had Christmas cards or birthday cards or good wishes cards, and there's a printed message, and it just says, to Richard, printed message from Harold. And I think to myself, you know, is that just a sort of, oh, it's Christmas, so Merry Christmas, you know. Whenever I buy a card, I don't buy any cards with any sentiment in it. I want to put the sentiment myself. I want to write a little bit in it. I want to say something personal to somebody, like bog off and stop sending me all this demands for money. You know, that's the sort of thing that I like to tell people in my letters. Now, I kind of covered that subject quite eloquently, I hope. And thank you very much for watching. And I've been smoking my pipe just to annoy the people who don't like it. And why not? You know, it's my own channel. I don't care. Now, I've got some news for you, which came in on a letter, actually. Do you remember the old fax days? At least a fax, you printed it out, didn't you? Beep, 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 beep. That's Morse code. Anyway, I've got some news. Firstly, I had a letter, a lovely letter, from John Cook from Dora's Dairy. Delightful chap, and I've milked his cows. He was very annoyed at that and chased me off the premises. But anyway, I managed to get a couple of pints, so it was all right. Anyway, he said the cows are out, they're on the grass, natural grass, organic grass. They're feeding them well, and he's got a lot of raw milk. If anybody wants some raw milk at the moment, and you can order it online, check him out at Dora's Dairy. So thank you, John, for that. It's always good to give people an update because we're very interested in raw milk and keeping people healthy. There is a couple of events, and I may well be pottering around at them. So I've been put on the posters, so I suppose I better turn up. One is on Sunday, the 27th of April, from 9:30 till 4 in somewhere called Goffinland. Sounds amazing, doesn't it? I love the idea of that, going to Goffinland. It's a dissident meet-up in the southwest region. So that'd be down, I don't know, Somerset Way, something like that. I think it's near Exeter, actually. Devonshire. Oh, hello there. And it's council tax. Should we pay or resist, they say. Should we pay or resist? What are you going to do with the council tax this year? This fraudulent tax that's being shoved on us. Are you going to push back against it? Be interesting to see. And a couple of days before that, up north, aye lad, all right, up at Burnley, is 24th of April, that's a Thursday, in the evening at 6:45 at the Lower House Cricket Club, Burnley. There is a talk which is Truth Talks. Aye, lad, Truth Talks. We get right down to basics in Burnley, I tell you. Bring your whippet. Mark Byford, the bowler hat farmer, will be there. Andrew Bridgen, the truth-telling ex-MP, will be there. David Edelman, the People's Lawyer. Richard Vobes, don't know who he is. And Victoria Rickson, the NHS whistleblower, amongst others. So do come along and see them. That would be good. It's a bit like on the old radio, and it's like, says, Mary says, could you wish my husband a Happy New Year? And it's funny on these sort of love song things. I don't know if you ever used to listen to those. And Steve Wright used to do one, didn't he, before they killed him off? He used to do this one, you know. John says, could you wish my lovely wife, tell her I love her? And I would always, like, if the radio was on, and I don't do that, I don't listen to the radio, but an ex-girlfriend used to listen to this stuff. And I would always just go, tell her yourself. What are you doing? Writing to a radio station and saying, oh, it'd be so nice if you could tell her. Just tell her yourself, for goodness sake. Write her a lovely love letter. Stick a load of perfume all over it. Write it in beautiful cursive script. No cursing, of course. Tell her you love her and seal it and surprise. Surprise someone today with a letter. Go on. You know you want to. It's a way of communicating with each other from the heart. And it means something. Let's not fall into this negative world of digital nonsense. Let's get back to a world of meaning. That's what I say. And I'm going to puff my pipe and leave you alone. Thank you for watching.